On the afternoon of August 24th, 1908, around 2:30 p.m., Caroline Leward and her husband embarked on a walk with their dog from their residence. However, their motives differed significantly. Her husband aimed to retrieve his golf clubs from the Godden Green Golf Club's clubhouse before an upcoming vacation. On the other hand, she intended to engage in some exercise before returning home, where she awaited Mrs. Stewart, the wife of a local solicitor, for afternoon tea. After walking about a mile from their house, following a path adjacent to St. Lawrence Church and the associated school, they reached a wicket gate around 3 p.m. At this point, they parted ways. The gate led to a path towards a bungalow summer house known as La Casa, owned by their neighbors, the Wilkinsons, of Frankfield House, a place both families frequented. Beyond the summer house lay a path through the woods, which Caroline planned to take to return home promptly for her visitor. Meanwhile, Charles Leward headed towards the golf course and was sighted at various intervals over the next hour. Witnesses saw him at Hall Farm around 3:20 p.m., approximately 400 yards from the golf links between 3:25 and 3:30 p.m., and again at 3:35 p.m. by the golf club steward on the links. After gathering his clubs at 4:05 p.m., he encountered the local vicar, Reverend A. B. Cotton, who was driving in the opposite direction. Despite the opposite routes, Cotton offered to take Leward's golf clubs, probably to ease his burden. This interaction happened at 4:20 p.m., and Cotton dropped off Leward and his clubs at Idam Knoll at approximately 4:25 p.m. Upon reaching home, Charles found Mrs. Stewart waiting for Caroline's return. As a result, around 4:30 p.m., he set off to search for his wife along the woodland route. Finally, around 5:15 p.m., he discovered Caroline on the veranda of the summer house, which was locked and deserted. Tragically, she had suffered a gunshot wound to the head, and her rings and purse were missing. No cartridges were found at the scene, only some disappearing footprints. The estimated time of the murder was around 3:15 p.m., while her husband was en route to the golf clubhouse. Two witnesses, Annie Wickham and Daniel Kettle, reported hearing 3 shots approximately at that time. Wickham, situated at the Wilkinsons' home about 500 yards away from the summer house, claimed the shots originated from the direction of the summer house. Scotland Yard became immediately involved in the investigation following Caroline Leward's tragic death. 2 bloodhounds owned by Major Richardson were brought in to track the escape route of the killer. Unfortunately, the trail went cold at the main road. The initial inquest into Caroline's death occurred at Idam Knoll, the Leward family's residence, on August 26, 1908. Dr. Mansfield, who conducted the post-mortem examination, revealed that Caroline was first struck on the back of her head with enough force to knock her down, causing her to vomit. Subsequently, the assailant shot her behind her right ear and then in her left cheek. Before the inquest, Caroline's husband was prompted to provide an account of the events of August 24th. During his testimony, he mentioned the discovery of his wife's body, noting the torn dress, a ripped pocket, and a glove lying inside out near her. He also observed that her rings were missing, especially highlighting one over a century old, an heirloom from her mother. Charles Leward acknowledged owning 3 revolvers but claimed uncertainty about the location of his ammunition. The gun expert, Edwin Churchill, identified the bullets as coming from a .320 revolver, not matching any of Leward's guns. The police hoped that the ripped pockets would lead them to the murderer, but it was found at Idam Knoll by a maid. They also anticipated the rings might be sold or pawned, but they disappeared without a trace. The inquest reconvened at the George and Dragon Inn in Idam later on. Charles Leward denied any incident or animosity that might have provoked revenge or jealousy towards either of them. Allegations surfaced suggesting Caroline received a letter before her demise, but Leward refuted this claim. After Caroline's murder, rumors circulated insinuating Leward as the culprit. Anonymous letters accusing him of the shooting heightened suspicions. As a result, Leward decided to leave the area, advertising the sale of Idam Knoll's remaining lease and arranging an auction for its contents. He sought refuge with Colonel Charles Edward Ward, a local member of Parliament. Tragically, Charles Leward ended his own life by throwing himself in front of a train. His note requested whoever found him to take him to Colonel Ward. Hearing of this, Colonel Ward conveyed the news of Leward's demise to his son upon his arrival in Southampton. The inquest verdict initially labeled Caroline's death as murdered by person or persons unknown. Later, it was concluded that Charles Leward had committed suicide while temporarily insane. Speculations arose about John Dickman's involvement, linking him to Caroline's murder due to a perceived financial disagreement. However, these theories lacked conclusive evidence. Furthermore, suggestions emerged that connections between those individuals in Dickman's trial and the Leward case might have influenced the handling of Dickman's conviction. Yet, these assertions lacked substantial proof and were not widely accepted. The serene farming community of Towata, nestled near Sedan, faced a horrific tragedy on New Year's Day in 1902, when Elizabeth Bertha Shippen, just 14 years old, fell victim to a brutal murder. Mathis and Johann Shippen entrusted their eldest daughter, 25-year-old Mary, to care for the rest of the children while they journeyed about 20 kilometers to visit relatives. As night settled, the girls retired to the house, while the boys slept in a galvanized iron room attached to a farm shed, approximately 90 meters away. Their tranquility was shattered when Mary sensed a weight upon her, and Bertha's piercing screams roused her. Alerting the boys, they sought aid from a neighbor, who regrettably declined to assist. They hurriedly traveled a kilometer to District Constable Lambert's home. Upon their return to the Shippen residence, they discovered Bertha, lifeless, her throat slashed 5 times from ear to ear amidst a pool of blood. The Shippen family, a close-knit second-generation, hard-working immigrant clan, staunchly held their Lutheran beliefs and German heritage. Their house, a modest log structure with a thatched roof, was home. Mathis Shippen, known for a prior altercation where he shot a young man in the leg, had stood trial and was acquitted in 1896. He was recognized for his stern nature and strict discipline towards his children. Learning of their youngest daughter's tragic demise, the Shippen family hastened back, and Mathis formally identified Bertha's lifeless body. A coroner's inquest, convened at the Shippen household, adjourned until after the funeral. Upon reconvening, numerous witnesses provided testimony, but none shed light on the potential assailant. Dr. Ramsey Smith, city coroner and head of the Department of Health, testified. Strands of hair, seemingly torn from the roots, were discovered at the house. However, after examining Bertha's recently exhumed body and Mary's attire, Dr. Smith couldn't conclusively determine whether the blood on Mary's clothing was human or from sheep, as Mary had assisted in butchering sheep days prior. Constable Lambert reported no disturbances in the house or reports of strangers in the vicinity that night. Sensational testimony emerged when Mary acknowledged a relationship with Gustav Nitschke. Spectators were disappointed when they were barred from the hearing to prevent them from hearing explicit details. When Nitschke, 21, testified, he admitted to the relationship spanning over a year. This revelation severely tarnished Mary's reputation. She denied threatening Bertha regarding potential exposure of her alleged infidelity to their disciplinarian father. The courtroom fell silent when the coroner announced the jury's verdict. Bertha Elizabeth Shippen met her death by having her throat cut by Mary Augusta Shippen. Formally charged with Bertha's murder, Mary awaited trial in Adelaide Jail, aware of the historical precedent of Elizabeth Woolcock, the first woman executed in South Australia. If the jury agreed with the coroner's jury, Mary might become the second. Her fellow women inmates, primarily thieves, prostitutes, and alcoholics, were distant companions at best. Mary faced trial before Justice Sir Samuel Way in March 1902, represented by Sir Josiah Simon, a former senator in the First Australian Parliament and later Attorney General. Massive crowds clamored outside the Supreme Court, hoping to gain access to the public gallery. Mary pleaded not guilty. During the 6-day trial, crowds surged to catch a glimpse of Mary shuttled between the court and Adelaide Jail. Simon portrayed Gustav Nitschke as an antagonist, garnering increased public sympathy for Mary as the trial progressed. Nitschke faced hostility from the crowd, necessitating police protection during his movements between the court and his lodgings. On the trial's final day, Mary, escorted by a female warden and the jail's keeper, awaited the jury's verdict. In less than 2 hours, the jury declared her not guilty, A stunned Mary emerged amidst cheers from both inside the court and the 3,000-strong crowd outside, accompanied by her relieved parents. Gustav Nitschke was swiftly escorted away through a rear exit. Returning to Towato's farming community, Mary chose a reclusive life and never married. She succumbed to tuberculosis in 1919. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing by clicking the red subscribe button below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.